funcionando. Hola, hola, hola.
A continuación, daremos comienzo a la primer conferencia que se titula Hacia una adopción responsable de la inteligencia artificial en la educación. Towards Responsible Adoption for AI for Education. A cargo de Weichel, Head Product Strategy de Anthology, Blackboard, y será moderada por el doctor Marcelo De Vincenzi. Antes de iniciar, como Marcelo les explicaba en la apertura, queremos compartir con ustedes los siguientes comentarios. La conferencia se va a realizar en idioma inglés, por lo que quien necesita el servicio de traducción tienen las dos opciones mencionadas. Si no lo hicieron ya, pueden solicitar el equipo de traducción en la mesa final del salón u optar por la opción de traducción por inteligencia artificial. Para ello pueden escanear el código QR que se ve en pantalla, allá arriba con sus dispositivos, con su cámara del celular y escucharlo con sus auriculares. Queremos contarles que este servicio es un prototipo experimental implementado por el CAETI de la Facultad de Tecnología Informática de la Weid. Ahora sí, le damos las palabras de bienvenida a Marcelo De Vincenzi para que dé inicio a esta conferencia inaugural.
Gracias, Ezequiel. Welcome, Weid. Like I said, we will actually change it to English. Weid, he's an Anthology product management of a strategy of products. What he does is he develops, he thinks about the product, he tests the product. One of the products that we will talk about will be EdTech. As we said, EdTech means education, technology applied to education. Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. And
you have a microphone? Hello? Let me see. We have some problem with the microphone. We actually, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. Thank you to the wonderful faculty and staff at UAI who have been so welcoming as I've arrived, and also to Confedi. Really appreciate the invitation to be here with you today.
Thank you, Weid. So let me formally introduce you. I will do an introduction. Weichel is a senior director of product manager and strategy at Anthology, where he works for further development and advanced teaching and learning solutions. He includes areas of innovations, such as leveraging artificial intelligence, as well as policies and compliance concerns in areas of data privacy, accessibility, and security. With over 25 years of experience, doesn't look like it, you have 25, you look very young. In education technology, he has worked previously in technical and strategic consulting for higher education, K-12, corporate and government clients globally. He also involved in technical standards such as a group of one EdTech. Weid, he started his career in education working in University of Nebraska. So as you know, he's also a teacher. He works in universities, and I think it's we would enjoy actually what you actually want to share about the using AI applied to education. In order to, before we start, I will start with a small introduction of the theme, okay? We will talk about a little bit about artificial intelligence. Raise your hand, whoever is researching or working in AI. Good. If I ask you, how many types of artificial intelligence you know? You know more than one type of artificial intelligence? Yes. Okay, good. So I will share some ideas. If we talk about artificial intelligence, the first thing that we have to talk is about ethics, transparency, and human commitments. Because artificial intelligence has to be applied for actually to improve the way we interact, especially when we do it at education. If we classify the artificial intelligence, we have the artificial neural network that is actually the one who give us the possibility that we have the generative AI, the GPT that we use, the cloud, the Gemini, the whatever we have artificial intelligence. The generative AI that creates new contents of data. The narrow artificial intelligence, that is the artificial intelligence that you use, for example, Alexa. You use Alexa, Amazon, or if you have an iPhone, Siri, okay? Or if you use in your car. Whenever you use your car, there is AI working your car, tuning the car in order to be perfect. We don't do much. Before you have to know about a lot of a car. Now, right now, we just started, put gas, and that's it. So this will work perfectly. And then we are getting into general AI, the artificial intelligence, that is seeks and replicate the human beings. Like I said, that is the race that China and United States is playing in order who will control this general AI. And then you have the super AI that is more a theoretical type of idea that is general AI working together as a network. If you see on the right, this is our human brain. If you see on the left, it is artificial human brain, okay? Both work with synapses. Sorry if it's something works in that field, but I will try to explain a little bit as an engineer how this thing works. What it does, the synapses is like a pulse, electric pulse, that it happens to our brain, and it gives an idea. And then we do like a network, we working all the cells all together, and they will create some information depending on the combinations that we do. Models that simulate the human brains are what we use in artificial networks. This type of network, neural network, is the one that gives us the possibility to do machine learning. When we talk about machine learning, we're talking about how the machine is learning as well as our students as doing every time. Then we create the general AI. The general AI, what we do is create new contents by doing math. This is a very, very good way to help students to love math, because if you like the artificial intelligence, you will know that you have like a matrix. You have like matrix with different levels. We have X and Y, then we have Z. Think that the best and most important, the smartest guy in the world might probably think six things or think on 6 things at the same time. Only just 6 things. And only in 1 second or 2 seconds, depending on the person, okay? Well, if we compare with the computer, this computer is doing big data, so they have thousands of data, of information, thinking at the same time and processes in nanoseconds. So 1,000 times faster than the person thinks. That if that information, we have millions of combinations on the matrix, you put an array, you put in different position, and you combine the different position, you will create different information. That's why when you go to the ChatGPT or Cloud or Gemini or whatever AI you use, you might think that the AI knows more about yourself or whatever you ask, more than what you do yourself. That technology is called transformers. Then we have artificial intelligence or narrow, that is the one that you're using right now. If you scan the code, that it will do the translation meanwhile I'm talking, and also the Siri and Alexa and etc. And this is the most common. All our cellular phones are using the same type of artificial intelligence. And then we get to the general artificial intelligence. The general artificial intelligence is what is happening right now. The beginning is the ChatGPT 5, the version 5, so whoever raises their hand, something the 5, the Cloud 3, and the 4 that is working. What it does is not only create information, they create image, but also have conscience. Like I said, they simulate, have conscience. So they understand the surroundings, they understand the way you do, and they do their own policies. This is something we are getting to, something that is very difficult to combine as the rules that will lead our world, Occidental and Oriental world, because we have an agents that will have possibilities to make decisions without our supervisions, okay? There won't be supervision at all, and they will only create information, but it I could say, or make decisions to do something that you order to do, and probably they will say, no, I won't do it because that's such and such. So we'll make a decision, and they will be concerned about that. And then, like I said, we have the superintelligence that is a network of general AI. This is a theoretical theme, but by the pace that we are actually increasing the way that we work, probably we will have no more than 10 years, we have this one working with us. The idea is not to scare you, but also to be aware of what is happening. We have to be aware not only on our professional way to do working and everything, but also in education. So how responsible, how do you define or how do you approach the responsible AI that Weid will share in a minute with us? When we think about responsible AI, we talk about ethical, safe, and inclusiveness of AI system. We think on the maximize the benefits of our society, also accelerate the growth of AI. How is the pace that is growing this technology, and how actually we are doing the same thing in education, on laws, and everything. But yeah, then this one is my last slide of the introduction. We have to be aware of some things regarding these risks. First of all, algorithms discrimination. As you know, math is math. 1 + 1, 2, okay? So if you have a pattern and you see something that will repeat, the AI will believe that it's true, no matter what, it's true. So this is something you have to believe. Negative impact on employment, like Carlos. Carlos, he's aware because you scan your code and it says, I'll be out of business because I won't be able to translate. So probably we how to include Carlos in this thing of AI. Surveillance and social control. We will live like in a gran hermano, like everything is immersive, so cameras for all over, and we like to have, we would like to know what is you doing with my information. Where are you tracing me, going from home to work to someplace else that I want to say, but who actually mediates all the information. So this is another thing about confirms, because you can have the images, but right now you have an AI that can process that images, and they can know more than what we do. So there is another concern. The other one is disinformation, deepfakes, and bots. You know, as it's very easy to download. You can actually make me to say something that I'm from Boca. Boca Juniors is a soccer team. I'm not Boca Juniors, I'm River. So, but you can actually make me to say that. Just by this, it will be exactly like me. Like, for example, the translation, the one you're scanning, you see, you are listening to me in Spanish, speaking well, I'm speaking in English, okay? And then the lack of explainability. This means that this algorithm, the processing is in nanoseconds. We think in seconds. So there will be black boxes that it will be almost impossible to know what it means. So we have to be aware about that. So this is my presentation. Weid, with the title, he will share with us how to use this AI in a very good way in education. Weid, as I said, he's a strategic planner for the most important company in the world of EdTech, and he has 25 years of experience on that. So he will actually show us some of the tips or some of the things that actually we can create. As Confedi, in our commission of teaching on learning, one of the themes that actually we don't focus, Mauro is waving, like says yes, we want to work this year also on AI, how to apply AI. So you will be a good start for doing that. After this presentation, Julio Cesar Perez, he from Huawei, he will show us also about infrastructure, so how to do it. So, Weid, please.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here today. Testing, there we go, maybe. Or should I use that other microphone, maybe? Try again. Is it up now? Okay. All right. So the way I'm going to approach today's presentation is just sharing with you some of what we've been learning over the years and a framework and approach that we've taken to be responsible in our work with AI. But this is an ongoing conversation. We are still learning, and that's why I love being able to come to these kinds of conferences, hear what you're learning, hear what you're thinking, so that we might adjust and be better in the future as well. So I'm going to again share today with you some of our approach, and I'll be sharing with you specific to our product Blackboard, which is a learning management system. So the examples I'll use today, the data sets will be related to Blackboard. But to sort of set that context and that distinction where we've shifted into general AI, I thought I'd contrast us with a couple of services that have been using artificial intelligence for many years, Netflix and Amazon. How many of you have used either one or the other, right? I'm sure I should see almost all the hands up, right? So your lives have been affected by AI for a very long time, but they've been using some of the more traditional artificial intelligence techniques that have been around for some time. So again, these are neural network or narrow intelligence-based capabilities. So that includes things like being able to make recommendations because things can be cataloged and organized around genre, actors, these sorts of commonalities. Then we start to get into some clustering based on what users are interested in and grouping them together. Being able to start doing predictive modeling and how the video is delivered, for example, on Netflix, anticipating that there's going to be demand in certain regions for, should we try that one instead? How's this microphone? Okay. Less noisy, maybe? So being able to anticipate utilization. And then finally, some deep learning. So being able to do things like identify which thumbnail a person is most likely to click on in order to start the same video, but presented to someone in a different way. So this is where things really start to get personalized based on those neural networks. But these traditional approaches, these techniques, have required very large data sets and large user sets, or sorry, a very large user set to a smaller data set. You have vast number of users globally and collecting all of that data and information. Similarly, the information has a lot of structure and semantics. So again, things like the relationships of categories, actors, other information that can be contextualized. So in contrast, we have a very different data space within the educational realm, within our sector. And I'll just use Blackboard data as an example. So if we look at the user space first, the black dot in the middle represents the global active user population of Blackboard on the LMS, so about 35 million users. The red enlarges, and that represents Netflix. And then the yellow is even larger yet, which represents the 214, in this case, United States users for Amazon. Globally, of course, that is even larger. This is the data space for content. If you look at that black circle, that represents the over 3 billion unique pieces of content that exist globally within the Blackboard data space. Look how that contrasts to Amazon and to Netflix. Netflix generally has about 14,000 titles at any given point. Amazon, about 12 million products. So quite different in terms of the data space. And that was why, again, in education, we weren't really seeing a lot of impact initially with some of the prior techniques, but general AI is actually really good at making sense of these kinds of larger data sets. So how do we respond to that? What do we think about that? And what should we be doing? Really, as we've seen over the last 3 years since ChatGPT 3 was released and many other AI solutions followed very quickly, we've seen both a wave of concern as well as a wave of hype. So we've had the, AI is going to take away all of our jobs and ruin everything. Oh no! We've also heard from, especially a lot of startups and other people interested, AI is going to do everything for us. It's going to make our jobs even better. Our lives are going to be amazing. Wow, 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 right? And we've been hearing both at the same time. What we've been really focused on is trying to understand what that space is in the middle. What is the opportunity for us? And being able to focus on what that means, but being able to do so responsibly, applying responsibility to that opportunity. And we've been taking an approach considering that from 3 different aspects: appropriateness, trustworthiness, and creating meaning and defining meaning. So we're going to take a look at each of these a little bit. And of course, as we think about responsibility and those opportunities, in each of those lenses, each of those areas, we have to keep these challenges in mind. Marcelo already outlined these, but this is important. As we make those plans, we have to be considering those areas of bias, the lack of explainability, the lack of referenceability, going back to a source, but also things like environmental impact and other decisions that we're making going forward. So as we look at appropriateness first, we've taken a model where we think about what is going to have the greatest impact and what is the risk associated with that. Now, in our case, this is from the perspective of software development. In your case, this might be approaches to a new pedagogical approach within a particular program, initiatives within your university. But I think the same model would apply for you as well. And we've been really trying to focus on identifying solutions that have very high impact, but a lower set of risks. And this is where we want to work. This is where we want to be doing things. At the same time, we do, I myself believe that we all need to be recognizing our responsibility and asking the questions in this other sector: what is high risk and what is high impact? And we need to be engaged around these. We need to be thought leaders. We need to communicate with one another. We need to share, discuss, consider regulations. So be mindful of these things. So I would summarize, it's do and work in the upper left, monitor, observe, think in the upper right. Everything below the line, don't worry about right now, right? It can be very distracting to try to do everything everywhere all at once. So it is really about finding that middle ground and that high impact, low risk area for your organization. So that second aspect, that second area around trustworthiness is something that we'd actually been thinking about for quite some time. We had our first symposium on ethical use of AI back in 2018. It was an international conference. And 4 years ago, we had published our Trustworthy AI Framework. It was something that we've been thinking about for a while. We published this, it's available. We do make some revisions to that from time to time based on what we learn. But there were a few key guiding principles that we adhere to. The first is that within any of our solutions, we want our institutions, our customers, to always opt in, that there is always choice around the use of AI. So we don't have any mysterious AI doing things behind the scenes within the product. We commit to that. And institutions can choose which capabilities they turn on so that they can consider their own policies and which capabilities would adhere to their policies, which ones maybe don't, and they have that control. The second principle that we had is a human is always in control. So we want within our workflows, our capabilities, that humans are involved in decision making, accepting suggestions, applying a model or a change. And in cases where something is presented directly to students, it is proclaimed, identified, this is artificial intelligence. We also capture that interaction with the student so it can be reviewed later by a member of the faculty or used for later research if that's valuable to the institution. And then finally, we make sure that we're addressing copyright and data privacy concerns. So we enter into agreements for the uses of the models that we have that prevent the use of any content that is added for training large language models, as well as ensuring that anything that is generated does not have any copyright held to it by the large language model that created it. So this gives our customers an assurance that they can use the tools and they don't have to worry about these things. That does limit what we're using initially as we build those out and get those agreements, but it can definitely be a safer space for professors, instructional designers, academics to work within, because there can be risk. If you're going off and using this free tool and that free tool, chances are that is being incorporated into large language models, for example. So there can be risk in using those sorts of things. Second, we also know that in some cases, institutions do want to build their own large language models for certain applications, but we want to make sure that we're providing basic tools that are going to be applicable for most broad uses within a university. Now, atop these principles, we also have a few other governance controls that we've added. So just to kind of share that. First, we have an AI governance model within the company, and it's led by our Global Data Privacy Officer, who signs off on all AI initiatives within the company. So if my design and engineering teams come up with this idea, before we build it, we have to go to that council. Before it's done and delivered, we have to go back to that council again. And we've created that process in our organization. We also have certain protocols within our software development process. And then finally, we've implemented an AI council. And this is a council that's comprised of customers as well as external AI leaders who are not our customers. We want that internal perspective. We want that external perspective. And as we are coming up with ideas, we present those to the council for feedback, often with a big focus on responsibility and ethical use. So the third area, meaningfulness. As we look at what it is to be meaningful and what's going to bring the most impact to education, first of all, we have to acknowledge that we've entered into the era of co-intelligence. While we know generative AI can be really problematic when learners are using it to do their assessments and their various tasks, the research has also been showing that it improves the learning process. So there was a meta study in June that was published by Dong, Tang, and Wang, and they found that when they looked across many studies about this within the educational sector, students with AI-enhanced learning experiences did have better academic achievement than those with only access to traditional ones. So there is something there, and there's something for us to understand and dig into further. There was also a neuroscience study this last June that was published by MIT. And this is an interesting one if you haven't looked at it. They had 3 study groups. This was all around using an essay as an assessment. The first group used ChatGPT to just answer the questions for them. The second group was restricted from using any AI. And the third group was restricted in their initial draft, but then they used AI to review, challenge their assumptions, refine, revise, and evaluate their work. And they looked at the brain scans, the brain activity of each of those groups. As you expect, the copy-paste group, terrible, nothing going on. Those that authored, had a certain level of activity that aligns to, creation and so forth. But the group that had the highest brain activity were those who initially authored, then used the AI to, again, challenge, evaluate, revise. Because it then almost became like a personal interaction with their professor, that back and forth, that reflection, that higher order thinking. So this does reinforce that we do have to rethink the learning process as well as how we do assessment. realistically, that one-time paper submission or that high-stakes multiple choice exam, they're going to be problematic for us to leverage in the era of AI. So we need to be thinking about assessment as a program, an approach, rather than individual assessment tasks. And this will be really critical. So we wanted to come up with a model for how we think about what is our definition of meaning and adding meaning to our solutions. And this means in education having a proper basis within pedagogy and andragogy. So to address these concerns, we needed to review what is inarguably been the compass for instructional design and assessment for decades. We started with Bloom's taxonomy. And the taxonomy was most recently revised in 2001. It scaffolds learning from simple recall up through complex creation. And the taxonomy offers a dynamic hierarchy of cognitive processes, organized around verbs: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. It emphasizes active verbs and measurable outcomes, and it helps instructors and curriculum designers and encourages deeper learning. So this model has informed learning outcomes, assessment strategies, and curricular design in classrooms for many decades. But we had a working group within Anthology, and it was led by my colleague, Dr. Lisa Clark, who started with the question of how should this get reframed in this era of AI, in this era of co-intelligence. So we wanted to cross this bridge from a traditional knowledge-based model toward an AI-informed, skills-based approach. We began by analyzing the limits of the original taxonomy, integrating AI-driven methods like adaptive feedback and prompt design, and redefining the learning objectives to include ethical reasoning, data fluency, and digital collaboration. So our goal wasn't to replace Bloom's, just to evolve it, just to create a framework. And it builds on the same cognitive functions, foundations, but it equips students to think with intelligent systems, not just about them. So this is a reframing, and don't worry, there's QR codes at the end. You don't have to try to write this down. And it really retains Bloom's original hierarchy, but we've redefined the verbs, considering that we are now in this era of co-intelligence. As an example, at the foundational level, it used to be to remember. Now it is curate and question. In a world where information is instantaneous, the most crucial skill is going to be the ability to discern its quality and its accuracy. Just because something is in the form of audio and video doesn't mean that it's real or it actually happened. You could watch a video clip and it's black and white and it looks old, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's history, right? To understand something, the next level, this becomes having the ability to prompt AI and to explain how you got your results. So that is the AI transformed version of understanding. If we jump up to create, you'll notice this has been redefined as co-create, because co-creation is going to be happening in a world that's empowered by co-intelligence. Even the most creative people are going to be using AI effectively for inspiration and development of new and novel ideas in their work. Finally, we've added a new layer at the top, transform or transformation. And it sits at the top because creation alone is no longer the finish line. Think about it. Students can now use AI not only to think about something, but they can also design, test, and implement ideas to drive their change immediately and in the real world. And that wasn't really possible before. So how are we applying this model, those considerations of responsible AI into our products? Now, there's not a lot of time today, so I'm just going to give you one example of a capability area within our LMS and how that applies here. So this one is a tool called AI Conversations. And this is really an engaging activity within Blackboard that allows students to interact directly with a bot around a certain defined activity across different knowledge, different subject areas. So this can be done as really a Socratic conversation activity, a role play, or a debate. And an AI persona is defined, the framework of the conversation is defined, and then the learner interacts with that. The learner is aware that they're using AI, it's self-declared at the very beginning, and the interaction is captured for that to be reviewed if needed by the instructor. Additionally, there is an opportunity at the end for students to reflect on that activity. So getting to that higher level metacognition and reflecting on what they learned and how that interaction was in terms of their learning process, all of which is building important AI literacy for students. Again, built into the tools, right within the workflows, no special knowledge or capabilities needed for instructors. And for that one, we were really focusing in this area of our taxonomy. So applying, analyzing, and evaluating, and this tool maps to that. And I'll give you a few examples, and again, don't worry, I have a QR code, you can download some of these. I'm just gonna show some that have been shared by real academics within the real world and how they've been using this tool. I'm gonna start with one that applies to the adapt and apply level of the hierarchy. And this is one where a student is going to be growing comfortable with interacting with children in a primary education scenario, developing skills of de-escalation, applied behavioral interventions by interacting with a 5-year-old student that's a little distraught on their first day of class, right? Second example maps to that compare and validate or analyze level within the taxonomy. In this case, you're interacting and having a conversation to think critically about the issues around data collection, ethical implications of that, as well as digital citizenship. So the interaction is going to be challenging assumptions, considering points and counterpoints of arguments, and delving into the ethics of things. And then finally, the last example is a simulation. So this is evaluate, challenge, and reflect on the taxonomy, asking questions, making judgments, and reflecting afterwards on a certain clinical scenario where you're interacting with a woman who is full term within her very first pregnancy. And so, students can get comfortable with having these kinds of conversations and identifying scenarios that could happen in clinical situations. I'll note that I've seen great examples of this that, yes, apply to the medical and clinical scenarios, but also in other scenarios. I saw one that was about diagnosing car issues based on descriptions that customers come in and talk about grinding things and worrying and smoking, and being able to diagnose that as well. So student feedback around this tool have been really great. There's a resource here where we've collected some of the best ideas that were submitted to a contest that we had a few months ago for some of these AI conversations. So I'm just going to conclude here and share with you a link to where we published some of our white papers. For today's presentation, I drew information from 2 of our white papers here. We have some others on there as well. We did a study around bias within certain processes of trying to identify unoriginal work by student. We published a white paper as well about environmental impact of AI and some of the considerations that we've done there. So lots of great information, but again, I do hope this is a dialogue, the start of a conversation. We're still developing, we're still learning as well, and I do appreciate the opportunity to meet with all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Weid. Wait, we have received lots of hundreds of questions, because not only we are the one we hear, but also the conference is in our YouTube of Confedi. So some of the organization is gathering all the questions. Some of the questions you answer regarding technical challenges, but it's one question I would like to ask, and also if you want to raise your hand, and I will give you the microphone so you can also ask questions. The question is about skills and evaluation, and it says, how can collaboration between educators, students, and AI developers enhance transparencies and reliable education technology? And then I will combine this question, the saying that as an institution, we feel the imperative need for innovation and experimental with AI, but at the same time, we have to be sure about ethics and privacy. So how do you combine that?
Big topics. In terms of, I think the first question, it was about skills and collaboration and so forth. I think it's having these kinds of conversations, these kinds of interactions. It is how we learn together, and just trying to be open to others' suggestions. In our case, we do, as I mentioned, the council. We also do focus groups weekly. We have about 3 focus groups every week with anyone who wants to attend, and one of those each week is Spanish language, actually. Mm-hmm. So if any of you are ever interested in joining our focus groups, if you go to community.anthology.com, sign up there. The schedule of our focus groups are there. But again, I think it really is just about dialogue, responding to things. If you read one of our white papers and you have a comment about that, or a different idea, or you think we're going in the wrong direction, absolutely post to that community, let us know. We also have what we call our idea exchange. So this is a place where you can post ideas about enhancements or refinements to our solutions, things that we should be thinking about. All of that is another great channel for us to collaborate together.
Okay. One of our concerns that we
didn't answer the second question.
The second question was how to be innovative and at the same time be responsible regarding ethics and everything.
Yeah, I think first and foremost is defining your policies and your governance, and then adhering to that, and revisiting that. We're always constantly learning, but I can give an example of that. We don't have a lot of capabilities today that are using processing student data to make decisions for them, because we did not feel comfortable with what ethical concerns that would have with processing that data, combining data sets, the data privacy, and so forth. So we've decided to go a different angle in trying to support individual learners. As example, we're about to release soon a capability we call AVA, so Anthology Virtual Assistant. But the idea there would be that the class materials are able to be referenced against a large language model to make sense of that. And we can look at the descriptive data, so not data processed, of what the student has and has not done. Did they turn something in? Did they not? What did they get right? What did they get wrong? And if a student is at midnight stuck on something, they can ask a question, and the AI will intervene and say, hey, I'm AI, but let me try to answer your question. Look at the contents and materials of the class, try to unblock that student. And the student can even ask an individual question like, what do I need to do next? What did I forget to do? And it will look through the class and say, oh, well, the next, this is overdue, you forgot to do it, or the next thing you should be working on is this task, because we felt that we could do that in an ethical way and not introduce some of the data privacy concerns. So I think it's just going back and asking yourself, is this appropriate? Is this okay? Does this have bias? And just constantly asking that question.
Any questions? If not, I'll read another one, the last one, because we are right out of time. Yeah, we're out of time. It's continuing with what you're saying. We are very concerned not to be in a dehumanized education. Okay, we have an AI. They was able to talk. They respond. It's very funny. It's like it very much. So what do we do? Carlos is also asking. We do translation. So what are we doing here? What is the role? 35 million students you have, 70-something countries. So what is happening in the world?
I think, the research has been showing that while AI can be quite good at developing, individual disciplinary skills and capabilities, where there is still very much a need is around some of those transdisciplinary skills that we must develop in leaders and workers of the future, right? So these are things like being able to work in group, teamwork, collaboration, conflict resolution, leadership, and also just community. Also some of this research has indicated students are getting lonelier and lonelier each year. Survey after survey, country after country, mental health is definitely impacted by the loneliness that can be created. So, really, if I were to say what does what does an academic of the future look like? I think it just continues what we've already been seeing, which is, no longer just a distributor of information, but a coach, a guide, someone to support them, connect them, build that community within the learning space to, again, develop those leaders and those collaborators in the future.
Thank you. Let's give him a big round of applause to Weid. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And let's continue.
Agradecemos a los participantes de la conferencia inaugural y los despedimos con un fuerte aplauso. Para seguir con el programa, damos paso ahora a la segunda conferencia. La misma se titula Infraestructura tecnológica para la educación en proceso de transformación digital y está a cargo del ingeniero Julio César Pérez, gerente académico de Huawei, y cuenta con la moderación